Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is September the 11th, 2025, and here in the United States, it's a day of memory. It is a day that forever lives in the history of our minds, and I pay tribute to all of those that lost their life on September the 11th, 2001, not only in New York City, but in Washington, D.C., and in the fields of Pennsylvania. Additionally, of course, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, with the brutal murder of that beautiful Ukrainian girl in Charlotte, there is so much internally happening in the United States right now that we are seeing division at the highest level ever. And it's extremely disappointing what we are witnessing unfold in our country. But while that is happening, there is so much happening today in regard to Ukraine that we cannot let down our guard. We cannot ignore it for one moment. And as you can see in the thumbnail, I firmly believe that today Donald Trump and the United States betrayed the nation of Ukraine. And they did it through Belarus with this new friendship with Lukashenko, and I will explain to you why. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, supporting the channel. Turn that notification bell on. Videos drop or lives at any moment, and we deeply appreciate each and every one of you. To be quite honest, it's what I believe. I really believe this is a betrayal. He was gifted, Lukashenko, dictator, gifted golden White House cufflinks, and that's why I have it there in the thumbnail. Now, if we get to it, what actually happened? And I'll be honest with you, the Belarus timing here is unbelievable, especially after the Russian incursion into Poland, of which Zelensky spoke about. I have that for you in just a moment. But the delegate of the United States, the representative, the envoy, John Cole, is now rewarding Belarus, which means Donald Trump of the United States rewarding Belarus for the release of a few, 58, I think the number, 57 or 58 political prisoners. Okay, first of all, you need to know that's great, but Belarus has thousands of political prisoners. So what did Belarus receive? They received a beautiful letter from Trump. Lukashenko received a letter wishing him health and a long life, and that's culturally how you speak to that culture. The gift of the golden White House cufflinks, the lifting of all sanctions against Belarus, gratitude for assisting the United States in the peace push for Ukraine, and confirmation that the United States wants to reopen its embassy in Minsk. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I remind you right now why I call this a betrayal and a stab in the back. It is common, open knowledge of the gloating relationship between Lukashenko and Putin. They are brothers in arms. In fact, it's to the degree that Belarus is now a proxy joint state with Russia, including cross-cooperation in elections. Belarus airspace is used regularly to attack Ukraine. Belarus-Russia war games and exercises are regularly practiced on the border with Ukraine and Poland. The Oreshnik and nukes are in process of being deployed in Belarus. And because of all of these things, and I could list more and more and more, but I won't. We know the reality here. The initial invasion in February of 22 came through the territory of Belarus down into Kyiv through Chernobyl, through Chernihiv regions. And now they're rewarded. Oh, you're going to help us push for peace. Today is a day that is very sad in the big picture, looking at the relationship between the United States and Ukraine and NATO. Belarus is not our friend. They are our adversary. They are partners. I mean, they gloat, they being Putin and Lukashenko. We are the same people. We are the brothers. And now one of the brothers is walking around with the golden cufflinks of the White House. It's absolute craziness. Now, I will tell you this, a little bit of conjecture here. The timing of this is very sus, as my kids would say. Dad, that's sus. Why is it sus? Because now if sanctions are being released on Belarus and the United States makes some kind of show against a sanction, for example, on Russia, does this allow like a release valve for Russia to work through Belarus where sanctions have been lifted? I know we're talking here about Belavia, but there will be more. This is just the beginning. This is how it works with the Trump administration. Now, let's take it a step further, because the reality is it's not just Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, United States, but Poland now becoming a much bigger player in this. And today, Zelensky making a joint statement there with the president of Finland, Stubb, I think. The president of Ukraine compared Russia's night attack on Poland to the beginning of the annexation of Crimea, emphasizing its dangerous psychological effect. He said the goals are, and this is Zelensky, and then I'm going to play you the video clip, to test the political reaction of NATO and its partners. Well, we've seen that. We've seen the tweet from basically the leader of NATO, which is the president of the United States. I wonder what's going to happen next. Drones are in Poland. You've seen it. To determine readiness for a physical response to such an attack, they wanted to see how NATO would respond, and NATO did respond, shooting very expensive missiles to take down very cheap drones. Thirdly, to scare the West to deter the transfer of air defense systems to Ukraine before winter. We've already heard Putin say that he's going hard after electrical infrastructure, gas infrastructure this fall and into the winter, because Ukraine is successfully striking and destroying Russian infrastructure. So anything that Russia can do psychologically to cause the West, like Poland, to say, hold on, we need some air defense here because drones are coming in our way. That's a part of the game here. And he said, this looks like Putin. The scariest thing is that this attack psychologically resembles Crimea. Back then, there were little green men. Now their role is played by Russian-made drones, the president emphasized. And here's the clip of Zelensky speaking.
First off, Russia wanted to know what's next. What are allies prepared for? What's NATO ready for? Politically, what are the partners willing to do? Then they looked at what they're physically ready for. Are partners prepared for such an attack? Third, if I may, they might have done this to prevent partners from sending air defense systems to Ukraine before winter. By showing they can attack, they're saying you need this too. It's very much like Putin's style.
So there you have it. This is exactly what Zelensky was saying just a few hours ago that I laid out for you there in that document. Now let's go to the last two things regarding Poland. This is pretty interesting, to be quite honest with you. Poland deploying 40,000 troops onto the Belarusian border. 40,000. So I've highlighted the map here for you. You can see Poland circled in red. You can see Belarus circled in red. You can see Ukraine there outlined in blue with the capital city of Kyiv circled in red. And on that border there were a highlighted red 40,000 Polish troops. The yellow X there is the Suwalki Gap. And then highlighted in red is Kaliningrad, which is Russian occupied territory, but Russia calls it their own territory there with the ports. So this is what we're looking at. Additionally, drone defense capabilities for Poland. They're now coming into agreement to be trained by Ukrainian experts. So now instead of NATO training Ukraine, it's Ukraine training NATO. Do you see what's happening here? This is what we've been talking about. The war in Ukraine, the war between Russia and Ukraine. The technology has developed so quickly that the West is being left behind, and now we see Ukraine having to train NATO. This is where we're at, guys. And finally, Schmiegel giving some good news for Ukraine today, and that is the level of mobilization in Ukraine over the past year has stabilized, and trends are increasing. We have mobilized the entire number of personnel to cover all of our losses, and we have even moved to forming small reserves. So that's where we're at today. That is the big story. Stand behind it 100% that this friendship with Belarus, that's a betrayal. That is a stab in the back, and we will see what unfolds from it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do, and we'll be back at you.